Okay, so Maria, Logan, Wyatt, and Parker, you all were on the Cuba delegation this past summer. Do you want to share anything about what you did, what you learned, whether you'd go again? Do you recommend it?
I would say that I definitely recommend it. It gave me a really cool perspective on a country that I didn't really know a lot about. Showed me how things actually were there based on what I had seen different things in like media that I had seen from in the U.S. And once we actually got there and saw a really different world than what I had seen in the media.
Seriously, a once in a lifetime opportunity. It's the coolest thing I can ever say I've ever done. And I'm really, really glad I went. I would go a million times over. Cuba is a beautiful country. Wherever you choose to go on a delegation, it's going to be beautiful. The Cuban culture specifically was very interesting to learn about. Sustainability, healthcare, art. You get exposed to all parts of Cuban culture, and it's a really great experience.
I remember the first day, all of us being incredulous about how we were actually in Cuba. This country is for so long, for 60 years, it's been the enemy, and there's a huge divide that's really only 9 miles big, but a massive cultural divide. And like Wyatt said, it's a once in a lifetime experience, not only to experience the culture, but to talk to individuals who live here, who every one of them is endlessly fascinating and has such a unique life, but together they all form this almost big family. It was just amazing to see.
I definitely think that talking to all the Cuban people, even the people we were scheduled to meet with, as well as just individuals we met throughout our trip, was the most beautiful part of the trip. Getting to know them and their experiences were all so incredibly cool, and it changed how I saw things because, like Parker mentioned earlier, we're taught one very specific vision here in America, and getting to see the other side of that is so cool. And outside of that, the trip is just an amazing time. You're gonna get to know amazing people, and I would go again in a heartbeat if I had a chance.
Any favorite moments? Favorite activity? Favorite speaker?
I loved all the art museums we went to.
I did too.
Yeah. But honestly, some of the food that we got, we got to eat on the top of this rooftop, and it was the most beautiful moment. The sunset, and you could see the Atlantic Ocean from where we were in Havana. It was great.
Yeah, it's really beautiful. Yeah.
I think probably favorite moment was I have two, I think. But the first one was the first or second day we were walking around old Havana, and it was just kind of surreal, just all these old historic buildings, Ernest Hemingway stayed in this hotel, all this stuff. And then second was the doctor's office where we all sat down, and just to learn about how the healthcare works there, and how they lived, how they worked, how they even talked to us about how the certain clinics were separated by certain, who went to what clinic, and all that was really interesting, and to see how everything worked.
Yeah, it's so different.
Also, the different levels of care that they had,
Yeah, really different.
Also, two different favorite moments. There's this one art teacher we went to who taught art to kids for free, just in his community, and he was talking about how they would come back when they were 25 and be you're my biggest inspiration. And he was still taking care of his 103-year-old grandmother who was living with him in the house, and he was a really cool guy. Artwork all over his house is amazing, and it was just he doesn't earn money for any of this. He lives purely off donations, which is kind of an insane thing to do, give up your entire life. But other favorite moment was definitely getting to know our tour guides and the Cuban people we're spending with all the time, Adelso, Terry, Veli. Shout out to those guys, they're amazing.
They are amazing. Yeah. Right?
Mine was also the artist's house. I loved getting to know him, and then also I think the fact that his mother was there and we got to speak to her a little bit was also very special. That was a great time, and our tour guides were amazing, so building off that. And I think my favorite part as well was when we went to Trinidad. I was trying to come up with a specific moment, but I couldn't. I think that was just extra beautiful.
Hi, my name is Drew, and I was a teen delegate to Nicaragua with Witness for Peace in 2015. looking back, that experience with Witness for Peace was the beginning of a new relationship for me with the world, with social justice, and with economic justice. It was an exposure to the power of people's stories and just how far a conversation with someone can take you. I think we spent just under 2 weeks in the country meeting with a broad range of people from all different social and economic classes, who all had valuable insights into how big policy decisions in the US or other countries in the global north were impacting the daily lives of people who were living in Latin America. And it was eye-opening for me at 16, not only to speak to these people in their own communities, but to have it framed in a way that I think started a conversation that I've been, grappling with myself for ever since, about how to think more globally, how to understand the ways in which we're all connected, and how to make impacts in the world wherever I happen to be. And I think Witness for Peace was invaluable in that way. It's also unbelievably fun to do that and to experience that with a great group of curious young people, of knowledgeable adults who both at the time wanted us to learn everything we could in that short journey, but also to develop a love for making those connections with diverse people and for understanding consequences of actions happening in faraway places and how that impacts everyone. It was challenging at times, grappling with the breadth and the severity of the suffering that was described by some of our delegation partners. I think when faced with such massive problems as you often deal with through Witness for Peace, there's an easy inclination to give up, to become cynical, to despair. But the beautiful thing about Witness for Peace is that it makes space for acknowledging suffering while always encouraging further action. I think, for example, the things I learned in Nicaragua about poor health conditions in the country's garment factories, that planted a seed for me to later in college spend a lot of time working on sustainable clothing initiatives. And I wouldn't have had the framework to start thinking about that in the way that I was if not for Witness for Peace. And I think that emphasis on what we can all do to play our part and to understand better, to have more empathy for people, and also to just understand the ways in which the world is interconnected and how we all impact each other, is a really special thing about Witness for Peace and just a really wonderful philosophy for life.
Hey guys, my name is Sonia Patel-Wen. I'm a physician over at Duke Hospital, and I graduated from Enloe in the class of 2005. And it was that summer that I traveled to Mexico with Witness for Peace, with Jennifer Slusser and several other of her colleagues and some of my own friends. That was, I think, probably a pretty pinnacle, maybe life-changing trip for me, in the sense that it really kind of set my future in global health, kind of showed me what it could be. There was a lot of learning that happened on that trip. We traveled to different areas of sort of both rural and urban parts of Mexico, talked with families, stayed with families, lived among, the community for brief periods of time, and also learned from them about how different policies, especially policies from America, really changed or affected their livelihood when it came to things like agriculture and health and other things like that. I think Enloe already gave me, a really big window of opportunity into learning about in-depth American history and politics and things like that, but there's something really unique about learning it on the ground and really seeing how current policies that our country implements affect people who are outside of our borders, and how that may then later affect people within our own borders. That was the summer of 2005, right before I went to college, and I do think that it was what planted that nugget for me to want to travel a little bit more to learn about how the world was just impacted, right? How the world is all interconnected. I traveled that following summer to El Salvador and Costa Rica with a group called Engineering World Health. I traveled to Ethiopia in 2008 with the Multidisciplinary International Research Training Group. These were all areas within health or health adjacent where I was able to learn a little bit more about how donated equipment or how public health policies or medication grants and different things like that affect other countries when the sort of nidus is in the United States. After going to medical school, I spent a lot of time working with refugee and migrant populations. Spent almost close to a year in the West Bank of Palestine during medical school, and then also during my residency, spent a lot of time in Greece and Jordan volunteering with refugee health. Again, I think that Witness for Peace trip in 2005 was really my first foray abroad without, parents, without being a tourist, without any other agenda other than to learn. That was super helpful and eye-opening for me. And every subsequent trip since then has really been about figuring out the best way to both learn and also make an impact without being a medical tourist or someone who just kind of drops in, wreaks havoc, and leaves. As a doctor now, I work as a hospitalist over at Duke and occasionally still do travel. My last trip being pre-pandemic, back to Mexico actually, to work with migrants at the border who were seeking health care and letters of health approval to get asylum in the United States. If you have the opportunity to participate in Witness for Peace, I do think it's a great opportunity at a great age. And can really show you a lot of different facets of international policy and health and politics and economics that you can really take in any direction no matter what career you choose. I hope you get to go. Good luck.
Hi, I'm Sabrina Sanka, and I was part of a Witness for Peace delegation to Nicaragua in 2015. My time in Nicaragua, while short, was an incredible learning experience. It was one of the first times I found myself in a group of like-minded peers, not only confronting the systems of injustice we were a part of as citizens or as consumers, and that our governments were also complicit in, but also discussing and enacting concrete actions toward justice. Witness for Peace gave me the opportunity to connect with changemakers and community activists on the ground in Nicaragua, experts who were really setting the agenda for radical liberation, prosperity, and justice across our hemisphere. People that I probably would not have met otherwise if I hadn't got on the youth delegation. The conversations that I had in Nicaragua with both my US and Nicaraguan peers really made me reflect on my proximity to power and what it means to be a good neighbor and resident of the Americas. My youth delegation to Nicaragua was truly a transformative experience, and it deeply shaped my personal ways of moving through the world and my professional aspirations. It's been almost 10 years since I went on that trip, and I still reflect very fondly on the memories and learnings that I made during my 2 weeks in the country. So I highly recommend this opportunity, and I wish you all the best going forward.
Hello, Enlo students that are considering going on the Witness for Peace Cuba program. My name is Caden. I went on the first version of that trip that was implemented to Cuba through that program, and all I can say is, if you're thinking about doing it, if you're considering it, is it worth it? Stop thinking and just go. Do what you need to do to make it happen. That's my opinion, because first of all, it's very hard to travel to Cuba. They'll probably tell you that, but you need to have a good reason in order to get into the country, and this is as good of a reason as any. So I would take advantage of it. Second, it's really fun and it's very safe. If you're worried about your safety, Cuba is kind of thought of as oh no, it's hard to travel there and stuff. No, it's fine. Everyone is super nice. The culture there is that everybody takes care of each other, and everyone's very caring. They all collectively take care of the dogs and cats that are in the streets and stuff, if that tells you anything about what kind of people live there. I felt very safe. It's a ton of fun. You get to just explore Havana and different little towns. You get to go to castles. You get to go to cool beaches. get to go to cool restaurants sometimes. You're going to learn a ton of stuff too, just about their culture and also about like the political environment. It is very interesting to see what the impact of the embargo is on their country, because it's pretty significant. Their government isn't the best either at taking care of their people, which is my own take, I guess, but you'll see too that the US trade embargo does have a significant impact in keeping these people in poverty. So you will see the whole point of the Witness for Peace program to Cuba is to learn about that and to help publicize that information to people back home. And you going and seeing it firsthand is going to really help you do that. Also, you get to meet students that are your age who are living in Cuba and who are Cubans, which is really cool. Doing that culture exchange with people who are around your age is really interesting. Also, if you take Spanish, you don't have to take Spanish, it's fine. Like, you'll be fine speaking English there, but it definitely helps. It's cool to have a Spanish background and go there or be learning Spanish. I took Spanish up through AP in high school, and I think I was only through like maybe Spanish 3, maybe 4 by the time I went. And it was over my head, frankly. Like, I could communicate a little bit in Spanish, but their colloquial like dialect is very fast. So just be ready for that. If you think you're going to be like, oh, I'm going to go be fluent and speak to the locals, like, it's fine. You won't, it's going to be fast is all I'll say. But overall, yeah, it's an awesome adventure. I would consider it maybe a once in a lifetime opportunity. Like, maybe you'll get the chance to go to Cuba later in your life, but probably not unless you really seek it out. It's a beautiful country. Weather's cool. People are really cool. If you're worried about going alone, if you don't know anybody going, that's totally fine. You're going to make really good friends. You're only there for like 7 to 10 days, but it's going to feel like these people that you started there with as strangers, that you've known them for like months or longer, even though you only knew them for 10 days because you spend the whole time with them. So yeah, you won't be lonely. You won't be scared. Like, you'll be with friends immediately. You'll be having fun. You'll be having a really cool, novel experience. So yeah, I highly recommend. Like, there's really nothing bad I can say about it. And that was like a formative experience for me. I still have like really fond memories of that trip. One of the coolest I've ever been on, and I've done like a good bit of traveling. So I would go back. Like, if I got the chance to do it again, yeah, I would go back to Cuba. So don't miss out. Invite your friends, tell people about it. Get people excited, and yeah, get ready to learn a lot and make really cool memories. That's everything I have to say. So I hope you guys get to go, and take care.
Really, I didn't know a lot about the CMLK and their mission before I really got here. And the director spent time with us kind of giving us an overview of all the programs they do, and that was really enlightening. The programs they do for the local community, they worked on a lighting project and how they elicit input from the community and to figure out what the needs of the community are, and also really then implement the project and use the people from the community to implement the project and really pull in the same direction. So that was really great to hear about all the work, not just for our delegation, but I've came to find out, they're serving all these other groups like several different other groups as well with this, kind of mission of solidarity. But yeah, everything from the food to the people, very gracious. It was great to learn about the movement of pastors from the United States coming during the Civil Rights Movement to the CMLK. And so I think I really appreciated hearing about their mission and how they are serving not only their local community, but Cuba and the world.